Hi, my name is Tyler Fay. You're watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover with you in the studio on the road in Norman, Oklahoma, as I'm getting ready for baseball this weekend. Alabama in Norman to take on the Oklahoma Sooners. It's going to be a very busy Easter weekend coming up for Crimson Tide baseball and softball, and that is the focus of our show today. Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. We'll take a look at what's coming up on the show, plus our headlines thanks to our friends RJ Young. RJ Young is the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. Let's see what's coming up at the show this afternoon. First of all, we'll be talking softball. Alexis Pupillo will join us from our studio at the LLH Healthcare Advantage Center inside Saban Field to learn about her senior season wearing the crimson and the white. And we're going to keep with the softball theme to begin the show as our broadcasters Tom Canterbury and Gray Robertson will join us for a full report and preview of what's coming up this weekend for a top 5 showdown between Alabama and number 1 Texas. Then we'll round out the show with a little bit of baseball with Bryce Fowler, who's back for a second time this season on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. We talked kind of about his journey to Tuscaloosa and everything for him this season in his first conversation, which you can find archived on the CTSN YouTube page. But in this conversation, we get down to the nitty-gritty of hitting with Bryce Fowler. I think you'll enjoy that conversation, getting to learn more about the intricacies of baseball with Bryce. Sticking with baseball for a moment, it was a great win on Tuesday night in a top 25 midweek game. You don't see that too often, but the Crimson Tide at 24th ranked Jacksonville State picked up the win 4-3. Game got tied in the bottom of the 8th inning with a base hit for Jacksonville State, or actually bases loaded walk, and then there was a player caught stealing at home for Jacksonville State by Evan Steckmesser, the pitcher. That closed out bottom of the 8th, and then with 2 outs in the top of the 9th inning, it was Brady Neal hitting a go-ahead home run day after he was on Hey Coach. So go on Hey Coach, good things happen. Brady Neal getting that go-ahead home run in the 9th, and Alabama got the victory. Now this weekend, the Crimson Tide taking on another top 25 opponent in the Oklahoma Sooners. It will be a Thursday through Saturday series in Norman. Same can be said for Alabama softball, as the Crimson Tide softball team will be at home this weekend against number 1 Texas. Crimson Tide ranks number 4 in most polls, including Softball America. Once again, it's a Thursday through Saturday series coming up in Tuscaloosa. We'll get a full preview of that from not only Alexis Pupillo in a moment, but our broadcasters Tom Canterbury and Gray Robertson. Then taking a look at some other notes around Crimson Tide athletics, gymnastics. The Corvallis Regional is coming up on Friday afternoon for Alabama gymnastics, as the Crimson Tide taking on Utah, Denver, and Oregon State. Also great news from the Coaches Association in gymnastics. 4 Alabama gymnasts have been named All-Americans: Azariah Ra Akbar, Gabby Gladio, Kylie Kwame, as well as Chloe LaCourcier. Great honors for those 4, and hopefully great gymnastics ahead of them, not just in regionals, but as the NCAA championships continue. Football spring practice continues. The second scrimmage is coming up for the Crimson Tide, and coming up next week, we will be getting ready for the Golden Flake A-Day game inside Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. And don't forget, coming up on Hey Coach next week, we'll be joined by the head football coach at the University of Alabama, Kalen DeBoer. That's a look at our headlines, again presented by our friends at RJ Young. And now we're going to talk softball here on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR, and we love talking softball and hitting with Alexis Pupillo, who's been driving in runs at a high rate for the Crimson Tide. Just one of the real energy boosts that this Crimson Tide roster has each and every time she comes to the plate. We visit with her about everything coming up in her senior season and looking ahead to this weekend against Texas. Roll Tide and welcome back to Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover with you at Saban Field inside the LLH Healthcare Advantage Center at our podcast studio. Pleased to welcome back to the studio Alexis Pupillo from Alabama softball. Of course, a great senior now on this roster. And can you believe it's time for your second season in Crimson and overall your senior year for Alabama?
I cannot believe that it is my senior year and that this is my second year playing here. I think it's just crazy how time has flown by and just how quickly things have gone. And I wish I had more time. if I'm being honest.
Well, we do too. And, it's interesting how Coach Murphy always does the senior days for the different seniors, giving everybody their own individual day as opposed to just one pregame ceremony near the end of the year. So for you, your senior day was what, Alabama's first or second weekend at home? Did that allow you to kind of savor kind of more of what's coming up, getting that early recognition?
Honestly, yeah, a little bit. And I was so blessed that Murph and all the coaches and all my teammates like put on a really great day. And all my family was able to come and see us and play, and we actually got a win too. So that was kind of cool to have a memory of having a win on my senior day. So.
Well, you guys have been winning a lot so far this season.
Yes.
What do you think's attributed to the hot start Alabama's had this year?
I would just say how we're trusting in each other, and just how much work we've put in over the last 6 months in the weight room, and just how we have really all bought into one another and to what Murph and the coaching staff preach every day to us. And that is just doing the little things the correct way and just process over outcome in everything that we do.
Was that exciting at different moments? You mentioned the last 6 months. Could you see it coming, this kind of start?
I will say it's hard to be process over outcome oriented because we as humans want that immediate feedback. And I would say that was one of the things that we really focused on over these last 6 months was every single day, even if you don't get the outcome that you wanted, if you grew in your own process or within the team's process, like even a little bit, then that was a win for us. And honestly, it helped us stay in a positive mindset. It helped us be able to bounce back from failure a little bit better. And I think that is what really contributed to our success in the last 6 months in the off season.
And again, it's led to great results for the Crimson Tide this season. I go back to that first weekend of SEC play for Alabama. Friday night, huge spotlight, Alabama against Arkansas. Bases clearing double, and I think your celebration is probably the best we've seen once you got to second base. I mean, how great was that at bat? How great was the crowd reaction to what that moment was?
Honestly, I am just so grateful for our fans. Like, there is no fan base like the Rhodes House, and it was just so cool to like look in the dugout and then like look up to the stands and see my mom like crying, and just to see like all of our fans like going crazy and just showing love for our team and all my teammates going crazy. It was a really cool experience.
It really has been. How much fun has it been? We mentioned you're a senior, getting to welcome in some of these freshmen or just a newcomer like Brooke Wells transferring in and getting to see them have success.
It's been really cool. I mean, I am so grateful that I even get to have 1 year with the freshmen and Brooke and Jenna Young, and it's just been so cool to have them by my side and have them be teammates. They're wonderful people, and they really push me to be a better person and a better player every day.
Feel like you've stepped up as a leader this year?
I would say I'm more so of like a lead by example type person. I don't really lead as much like with my voice. I try to like just maintain my good habits and just try to be a good example for the younger people around me so that they can then step up when it's time for them to step up.
We mentioned the Rhodes House and all the fun you guys have playing at home. How about on the road? Take us through like an Alabama softball, like an SEC road trip. Any fun traditions or anything you guys do to keep it kind of light and keep it fresh in between games?
I mean, in between games, we have like 30 minutes. So a lot of the time, like we're just like hanging out, like eating and then like trying to get ready for the next game. But I mean, sometimes we like go out for ice cream if we like have a really good win that night. So, I mean, yeah, a couple of cute and fun, like I guess traditions.
That's definitely good to see as you guys continue on this season. Tell us about your hitting mindset. It was one of our favorite clips. We talked about it when you stepped in. You talked about how hard you want to hit the ball when you come to the plate, hit it through people. What do you like about your hitting process and some of the swing thoughts you have right now?
I would say that I really feed off of other people. And a lot of the people in our lineup are really good hitters. And so a lot of the time I'm like trying to pick their brain and like, hey, like, what are you seeing? Or like, what are you doing that I'm not doing? And kind of pouring into the people around me has really helped contribute to like my own success. And I just really believe that like talking to Brooke and talking to Adam and our coaches and just really buying in and believing to like what they're telling us when it comes to like the offensive side is really what has helped to grow me and the team in that aspect.
How much video are you studying of these other pitchers we're seeing?
We do watch a lot of video. Some people like really want it, some people don't want it as much, but I mean, we do watch a lot of video just to mentally prepare and just see what things look like so that we're not like totally shocked when we get to the game.
Is that part of your process you really like?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I would say so. I mean, we have, like, stations and stuff, like, when it comes to hitting, and one of them is the classroom, and so then we'll all sit in there and we'll watch the film and kinda, like, dissect it and analyze it and bounce ideas off of one another.
That's outstanding. So again, you're continuing through your senior season, getting to play here at Alabama. How about away from softball? What have you enjoyed most about the last couple of years here in Tuscaloosa?
I would say the weight room. I have got to intern with our strength coach, Miss Michelle, because that's what I wanna do, is be a strength coach. And so, like, getting to work with her and getting to work in, like, a state-of-the-art weight room has been amazing, and getting to, like, watch our football staff, like, do what they do has been, like, so cool. So
You mentioned you want to be a strength coach.
mhm.
Would you like to specialize, like stay with softball, go to some other sports? What kind of role do you see for yourself down the
So
road?
a lot of the times, like, strength coaches don't just have one specific sport, they'll have a couple of different sports to work with. So, I mean, if I could stay with softball, that's great, but, like, I've also gotten to work with, like, our mascot, I've gotten to work with the spirit squad, and so it's been really cool, to see how much work goes into, like, the cheerleaders and how much the mascot has to work out, and, like, you wouldn't think that, like, a mascot has to work out, but, like, they really, really do, and they do a lot of, like, cardiovascular training, and they do a lot of yeah, like, strength training, and, like, how the guy cheerleaders have to be able to, like, hold people above their heads, and so, like, just getting to, like, help them, grow in their strength aspect and their cardiovascular aspect has been, like, really, really cool.
That's outstanding to
So
hear. So that's cool. So that may be down the road once
mhm.
softball's done. They'll look out for strength coach Alexis Pupillo.
Yes, hopefully.
That's really cool. Going back to this team for a moment, what are you seeing right now from Alabama in the circle of the pitchers that the Crimson Tide have?
I would say that our pitching staff is my favorite pitching staff that I've ever played with. They are amazing people. They're hard workers. They really take pride in their craft, and they really work with Lance, our pitching coach, and they do a wonderful job. Like, they're always staying after practice to work a little bit extra, or going in early to work a little bit extra, or watching film on opposing hitters, and it's just really, really been cool to see them grow.
And especially Jocelyn Brisky. I mean, you got to see her first as a sophomore, right after she had her own success as a freshman. But what kind of pitcher is she now?
Um, She's very efficient, and she's a very dominant pitcher, and just her attitude, she's so, like, gritty, and she's so competitive that, like, even, like, when I'm catching her, like, I know I'm like, "Oh, like, I mean, like, we're getting this done." Like, there's no doubt in my mind that we're accomplishing this. So,
One pitch more than another. Maybe you've seen a big jump from her.
no, honestly, I really believe that she has grown all of her pitches, and she does a wonderful job at making sure that she has great, tools in the tool belt to pull out.
That's awesome. So coming up, we're recording this right before Alabama gets to welcome in number one Texas to the Rhodes House. What kind of environment are you expecting, and how much as a competitor do you love taking on the defending national champion at your own place?
I would say that I think we're gonna have a sold out crowd, and I think that this crowd is going to be a little bit bigger than OU, even though the OU series last year was a pretty big crowd and is the biggest crowd that I've ever played in front of, and I'm so blessed that I got to be able to do that. But I think that the competitiveness is going to be off the charts, and I think there might be some low scoring games just because of how competitive things are, and I really look forward to competing with the people on the opposing side. I have a couple of friends on that team too, so it'll be cool to see them and stuff like that.
You mentioned the Rhodes experience. Is there a particular chance or a particular moment during games you really love at home?
I would say I love, like, when there's two strikes on a batter and, like, the whole crowd, like, starts to, like, clap, and and then the pitch happens, and if they strike out or there's an out happening, like, the whole crowd goes crazy.
It's a
So
special place.
yeah, it is a really special place, and Murph has done a wonderful job at creating such an amazing environment.
He really has. And how about just leading you all this season? Obviously, everyone talks about Mudita and everything that means to everybody in the softball program, but what are some other ways he's really shaped this roster?
I mean, I've never been with a team who has gelled so quickly, so fast. Murph really tries to, like, preach person over athlete, and a lot of the times before practice, he'll, like, have these, like, printouts for us, and we'll go around the room and we'll read of, like, just how we can be better as people, and, like, or, like, the freshmen did, like, a book club where they read, it's called the Four Agreements, like, book, and it's about, like, how you don't take any offense to things that people say, and, like, just, like, how you can be a better person, and I don't know many coaches who do that, and so I really feel like it has prepared us for the next 40 years of our life in that regard.
That's outstanding. So for the next few weeks coming up in your life, as an Alabama softball player, as we continue in SEC play and then into the postseason, what are you going to pour into this team?
I think I'm just going to continue to work towards my good habits and continue to stay competitive and give as much effort as I can and just be present for our team and pour into the other people around me. Honestly, I really believe that that's what contributes to success, like with teammates and whatnot, is like you continue to pour into the other people around you. And that just shows like how much you care about them as a person and like their success as a player.
We can't wait to see it. Alexis Pupillo, you're doing a great job for the Crimson Tide this season. Best of luck with everything ahead. We look forward to seeing you again down the road, but thank you for your time. Roll
Thank
Tide.
you.
Hi, my name is Brooke Wells, and you're watching Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR.
Hopefully some home runs will be called by Tom Canterbury and Gray Robertson for Alexis Pupillo and her teammates this weekend as Alabama welcomes in Texas for the softball series of the year to this point. Number 4 Alabama against number 1 Texas, as these teams are trying to fight for positioning in the race towards an SEC championship. With such a critical series coming up, we wanted to visit with Tom and Gray to get their thoughts on what's going to be most important and things maybe you should watch out for at Rhodes Stadium this weekend.
Thank you very much, Roger. Tom Canterbury alongside Gray Robertson. Alabama softball, huge weekend this weekend, hosting Texas here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. And Gray, Alabama, it's not unusual for there to be a big weekend at the Rhodes House. Alabama hosts big weekend series all the time, but this one has a little bit more juice. It's a little different, as it's the number 1 team in the nation. It's the Texas Longhorns. It is the defending national champion. First time in SEC play, Alabama has played Texas here in Tuscaloosa. It's going to be a big weekend.
I mean, this is why we do this. Like, this is the type of series that gets the blood pumping. You could say it just means more. And it's going to be, I think, a lot of fun watching these two teams do battle because Texas is proven. You know, they've won the national championship. They are the defending national champs. They're number 1 in the country unanimously. You look at any poll. They don't have all the first place votes, but every poll's got Texas number 1. And Alabama, I think, is still doubted a little bit. A lot of people are still trying to see if they should fully buy the stock. And this is an opportunity to prove what you can do, where you belong, and to have all of the eyes of the country on this series. You've got the big dogs coming in. Beth and Michelle are coming in town. You got ESPN on Friday night picking up your game. It's just a big deal. And I know both sides are super excited. I've talked to people, certainly on the Alabama side, but the Texas folks are hyped too. And the excitement going into this weekend is palpable all the way around. It's going to be just epic softball.
And we have 2 of the hottest hitters in the SEC, if not the country, facing off. You have Reese Atwood for Texas, and then you have Brooke Wells for Alabama, who just had a massive week in the non-conference for the Crimson Tide as Alabama's coming off of their bye week in SEC play. What will Brooke Wells specifically need to do to have success against, obviously, a great pitching staff with Texas?
I think not try and do too much. I think that's the key for the Stars on both sides is play your game. Don't feel like it has to be you. You've got people behind you. I think arguably the bigger key here is the protection behind both Brooke Wells and Reese Atwood. Texas has Katie Stewart, who's making a play for SEC Player of the Year. Lex Papillo is right behind Brooke Wells for Alabama. Lex has better conference stats than Brooke does. And so if you're those 2 people that are being circled in the lineup, like a Reese Atwood, like a Brooke Wells, you can't make the moment bigger than it is. You just have to go in and play softball. Look for your pitch and try and execute. Don't chase out the zone. And I think for Brooke especially, don't chase out the zone is the main thing that pops into my head as I'm thinking about how to get more specific. Like what Reese Atwood does so well is throw her rise ball through the zone and get these big power hitters to get the cartoon eyes and go, I'm going to light this up. And in fact, they're swinging under a pitch that wasn't really close to the zone. A&M did a great job laying off of Tegan Cavan's rise ball this past weekend. Brooke Wells, you know you're going to get some rise balls. Can you lay off, wait for something better, and then pound it? That, to me, is where she can really take advantage because we've already seen how good her eye is. But if she can really put that into play this weekend against the quality pitching that she's going to see, then not only are you set up to get pitches to hit, but also if you take a walk, here's Lex Pupillo, who's backed you up as well as anyone can protect anyone in the lineup.
And then in the circle for these two teams, we're going to see at least one, if not multiple matchups between Tegan Caban for Texas and Jocelyn Brisky for Alabama. And Brisky has just been on another level here this season as far as throwing strikes. Her strike to ball ratio and her strikeout to walk ratio just off the charts. Like the only comparison you can make is Greg Maddux in baseball. Like she is just throwing, and but the pitches are moving. They're strikes, but they are moving. So it's not like she's just throwing it right over the plate. She is inducing a lot of strikeouts with that up and down movement on strikes.
Yeah, it's really impressive. I mean, again, you got the rise, you got the drop. Her changeup has been on point, and she's going to it with 2 strikes, too, which is crucial. Texas is going to come in with a good plan, and if you're Brisky, you've got to make sure of 2 things. A, that the strike rate remains the same while not throwing it over the plate. That means it's got to move. That means you've got to miss barrels. But also, I think the biggest key of all for the entire pitching staff, certainly for Brisky, same with Tegan Caban, where are your mistakes? If Brisky throws it in the dirt, I'm fine with that. You know what's not going to happen? A tank out to the brickyard. You can't do that on a bowling ball. But if your miss is over the plate, a little above the belt, that Texas offense, that's gone. And you don't even really have time to think about it again. The mistakes that both pitchers make this weekend will tell the story, because they're going to make mistakes. Unless, like, they're not going to throw every single pitch 100% where it's supposed to go. There will be at least a couple in both games that misses the intended spot. Where do those mistakes go? If they're over the middle, both of the teams on the other side, the Alabama offense and the Texas offense, can pound it. And so for Brisky, it's making sure that her mistakes are manageable and that she's able to move it through the zone with that rise and that drop and throw change up at the time, at the appropriate time. You don't want to mix in too many changeups and have Texas sit it, but it's also got to be an effective pitch with 2 strikes to get Katie Stewart and Reese Atwood off time and to give those other hitters something to think about when they step in the box.
And I think that's a great transition to talk about, coming off of this past weekend, Alabama threw the 11th perfect game in program history against North Alabama. 3 pitchers were involved in that. Alabama now this season has thrown 3 no-hitters. 2 of those were perfect games, and all 5 pitchers for Alabama have been involved in at least one of those. And when I asked Patrick Murphy about that on Saturday, his answer was, well, that's because of Lance McMahon. And Lance has just done a great job this season being totally in tune and calling great games with his pitching staff.
And I think Kat Osterman is our guest on Out of the Box this week. I would recommend everybody listen to her full answer because she can put it more eloquently than I can. Kat's forgotten more about pitching than I'll ever know. However, what I loved about what she said is something that we've come to find is very true about Lance. And it's that he is not just interested in teaching people pitches. He is interested in teaching people the art of pitching. And what does that mean? It means understanding why a pitch is being called. It means understanding sequencing. It means breaking down to the basics and making sure that this element is correct at 25 feet. So then you can go back to 40 plus feet and throw a good pitch. And then we can move on to another one. It's the way that Lance breaks it down with this pitching staff. But not lost on me is the fact that when the moment has been its biggest, we've seen Alabama's pitchers play at their best. I think of Oklahoma last year. I think of Tennessee Super Regionals a couple years ago. And that's certainly them. That's certainly Brisky and Caitlin Riley and Kayla Beaver and Brisky again. But a lot of that is also to what you said, Lance putting together good plans and calling the right pitch at the right time. And I think in the early going, you think back to like week 1 or 2 of Lance's tenure here, we had some questions about the pitch calls because Alabama was giving up some home runs, but I think he's fine-tuned that craft as well. So while he's teaching the pitchers the art of pitching, he is further developing the art of pitch calling, and that has made that relationship in the bullpen so beautiful, and I can't wait to see the game plan that Lance is able to come up with this weekend against this Texas offense that is very, very talented with big boppers 1 through 9.
You mentioned the Out of the Box podcast, and that's something that we talked about as well on the podcast. Keys to the victory for for both these teams, but for Alabama specifically against Texas?
Well, so we have a stat. I know. Longtime listeners know I love my stats. The response stat, if you're new here, and if you are, please tune in. It's when you respond immediately after the opponent scores, when available. Sometimes they score in the last half inning of play, no chance to respond. Texas's response stat is 29 of 40. That's 72.5%. Over the years, my gauge has been if you're north of 60%, that's elite. Well, then what is 72.5%? I mean, that is elite of the elite. That tells me that Texas is the best at making sure when you have momentum, you don't hold on to it. They grab it right back. So if you're Alabama, that to me, that's the biggest thing. When you've got momentum this weekend, and there will be times when you do because Alabama's going to score and the crowd's going to be rocking, you've got to hold on to that. You can't let Texas answer back and silence Rhodes. You've got to make sure that the buzz remains palpable. That there are a lot of keys here, but just in terms of vibes and gameplay and the game script, that's the biggest thing to me is if you're Alabama and you grab the momentum, you can't let it go because the second Texas has momentum, they can start the snowball effect before you even blink.
And then one of my main keys for Alabama is to avoid freebies. And that's not just in walks and, wild pitches and stuff from the pitching staff. That's also offensively when you're at the plate, even if you make an out, it can't be an easy out. You got to make noise even in one of your 21 outs you're going to get during the game. On the base paths, avoid running into outs. If you're going to put people in motion, be successful. That's succeed in what you're doing offensively on the base paths and fielding wise. That is one spot where Alabama does have a clear advantage over Texas.
Yeah, that I was just about to say. You look at the national fielding percentage, Texas is in the triple digits, Alabama's in fifth. I don't think Alabama has to play flawless this weekend to win the series. Right. I don't think that's the case. However, you can't all of a sudden start booting the ball around, giving Texas extra opportunities. But also, I kind of think Texas, just based on the evidence we have, they're going to give you some freebies. They're going to give you some free chances. When you get those, you have to take advantage. Cash in on the air. We jokingly call those points off turnovers, but it's true. If you're able to take advantage when Texas messes around, then you're going to make it an even steeper mountain for the Reese Atwoods and Katie Stewarts and Caden Henrys and Vivi Martinez's of the world to climb out of with their bats against your pitching staff.
And let's take a look real quickly at what the stakes are in this series. You're looking at the SEC standings. Both Texas and Oklahoma have one loss in the conference. Alabama only has two, and they have the tiebreaker over Arkansas, which is the game behind Alabama right now. So Texas will play Oklahoma later on this year. Alabama does not play Oklahoma. So that makes this a huge series for Alabama. If they can get the series win and get the tiebreaker over Tennessee, it will do a whole lot to give Alabama the inside track to maybe claiming the regular season championship in this conference.
Yeah, and on the flip side, if you lose this series, I have a hard time seeing a path back because Texas would have a tiebreaker and a 2-game advantage. So the stakes of that
then you'll need a lot of help then.
Yeah, the stakes of that are gigantic, and odds are most of the help would be from Oklahoma. Again, it's not a good position to be in. But also, I think of like the NCAA tournament stakes. When you look at Alabama's profile, and we'll, I'm sure, get into that later on various Crimson Drives down the stretch, Alabama's profile is very sound right now. You win this series, barring like just a disaster, you're locked in to host a Super. That's happening. As long as you take care of business this weekend. So there's a lot at stake. The SEC race, of course. Ideally, you win this series, and then you get a little help to take down Oklahoma. But it wouldn't be a top 5 matchup without some stakes. And I think that just adds to the excitement, all the things that matter this weekend. Least of all, the fact that it's just going to be good softball. But every moment on that field will impact something else that's going on in the SEC and around the country. And I think that's pretty cool.
And you can hear it all here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network coming up on, remember, this is a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. Not going to be playing on Easter. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Thursday at 6, 5:45 the airtime. Friday at 7:30, 7:15 the airtime. Ray will be back on radio with me starting on Friday. after about a month absence doing other things, but you've heard him elsewhere on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. And then on Saturday, 6 o'clock first pitch, 5:45 the airtime for what should be a tremendous series between Alabama and Texas. So for my partner, Gray Robertson, I'm Tom Canterbury. Back to you, Roger.
Now we go from one diamond to another, softball to baseball, as we welcome back Bryce Fowler to Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is his second appearance with us this season, and he talks the finer points of hitting and also what it's like to hit in front of Justin LeBron, one of the best players in the country, right behind him. We recorded this interview just before Alabama went on the winning streak that has now reached 8 games for the Crimson Tide. So you'll hear us kind of talking about a group fighting for consistency, just trying to feel better after the tough losses over the first weekend of SEC play to Kentucky. But rest assured, Bryce, things have gone pretty smoothly since then. Here's our conversation with Bryce Fowler. Welcome back to Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover. Now, please be joined here at the LLH Healthcare Advantage Center and inside our podcast studio by Alabama center fielder Bryce Fowler. The Crimson Tide baseball team, as Bryce, SEC play is underway for you and the Crimson Tide. Just when you get into this part of the schedule, just how much different is it playing SEC baseball going against some of the arms you guys face?
Yeah, it's obviously different. It's a gauntlet. Everybody knows that. So every game's a haymaker punch getting thrown every other inning or every inning. So obviously, got swept this weekend. It happens. It is what it is. You got to flush it. But as you saw, it's like we're one big hit away in every game we played this weekend. But that's how the SEC is. It's going to be like that every game. And we just fell short and didn't get the big hit. And that's part of it. And you pack your stuff up, you come home, and you flush it down the toilet, and you get ready for the next one.
Get ready for the next one. And for you, you're always really the catalyst of this Crimson Tide offense, serving as the leadoff hitter. And on this episode, I wanted to focus on hitting with you. First of all, in your role, you get to be the first guy to the plate facing a different pitcher, especially a starting pitcher. So how important do you feel like your first at-bat is, really trying to make sure you see everything that guy's going to throw?
Yeah, our biggest thing is kind of just communicating with people. Obviously, we got iPads and stuff that the SEC lets you use in the dugout and stuff, but sometimes it's not accurate or it's old stuff or the pitcher may have added a few pitches or something like that. So the biggest thing for me is whether I get on base or not is just communicating with the guys behind me and kind of letting them know what his stuff's doing, what he's trying to do, and just help them out and kind of benefit them from what I was just seeing in the batter's box.
You take a lot of pride when it's like a 7-8 pitch at bat, maybe you foul off some things, and then you have the kind of realization like, all right, I've seen everything he has at this point.
Yeah, obviously, the deeper you work in a count, the more stuff you see, the more pitches you see, but then you get to see all this stuff, so you're not surprised by anything. So that's always a plus. But I've learned, you go in there and you see 3 pitches, it's tough for sure, especially when he's in the strike zone and he's got 5-pitch mix. It definitely makes it hard. For me, I've just tried to simplify it this year and just hit the white ball over the white plate is what I've been telling myself. So.
Just simplify. So is that as simple as it gets, kind of a swing thought for you right now?
As simple as it gets. I think last year I struggled a little bit, just kind of letting the moment get too big, kind of worrying about, oh, he's got 5 pitches. What's he going to throw right here? And coming back, a little bit older, mature, kind of knowing how it's going to go, what this league's like. I've just simplified it to just hit the ball over the white plate. That's all it is.
That's really good. So that's a part of your approach at the plate. And you mentioned you have all this technology, all this data. I mean, how much are you kind of thinking about that stuff in the on-deck circle as you're getting ready to face somebody?
It 100% helps. Just being able to ask the guys that have the iPad, like, is that ball, got right? Is it running? Is it sinking? Like, just being able to know what his stuff is doing and kind of get a better idea. Even, they got little things on the iPad, little small videos you can watch of his pitches and stuff, but kind of just knowing what it's actually doing in that moment on today, like that day, then that's huge and it helps a lot because hitting's hard, especially in this league. So having as much information as possible is the best thing for you.
And when you have that video, is there a certain camera angle that really helps you the most?
Most of the camera angles are just kind of your center field camera angle type deal, so you can see what the pitch shapes look like. You might get like a side view-ish, kind of like off his right or left shoulder, depending on if he's a lefty or righty. But most of the videos we have on the iPad are just straight behind the pitcher's mound, and it shows every pitch. It's like a 30-second video. You get 2 or 3 fastballs you get to look at, sliders, cutters, whatever he throws, and then it ends, and there's 10 more videos of everybody else they have on their pitching staff. So
So again, go back to the scenario, trying to relay everything you've learned from your first at bat to the guys behind you. Say you get a leadoff walk to begin the ball game. Justin LeBron's coming up to the next plate. You don't have much time to try and relay
Yeah.
anything to him. How do you kind of do that?
The biggest thing is just try and milk the time a little bit, taking off your arm guard and leg guard and stuff. If we're at home, I usually just try and like throw my bat toward the dugout, and we got a manager that comes out and gets our stuff. So I kind of just sit there and wait on him and take it off, and I'll tell Brian what it's doing. Try not to yell it too loud so they know what I'm doing, but or just signal to them, fastball's doing this or the slider's doing this. And then obviously if we're away, then it kind of makes it easier because I can turn toward the dugout and my back's turned and they have no clue what I'm doing and just think I'm taking my stuff off. So that's kind of how I do it if I get walked. And then a base hit, I mean, if we look at each other and make eye contact, then I'll give him a signal, but usually he don't look if I get a base hit. But a walk or something, I try and let him and Brady know what it's doing just to help them out.
I think you should say he is looking at you because you can take credit for all his home runs, everything he's doing, right?
He don't need my help, I promise. That guy's a superstar, so he definitely don't need me telling him what the pitches are doing, but it definitely helps a little bit, I guess.
That's certainly good. And that's just, again, part of everything in game for you guys. And I know on game days as well, what is a typical hitters meeting like?
Yeah, so, we get done with BP and we go in our team meeting room and Coach Pap does an unreal job of the scout report, very detailed. So, we do, first of all, we look at maybe if we played on a Tuesday, we'll look at exit velos that we had for 100 and plus is kind of what we do. So if you hit a ball 100 or harder, they'll kind of replay that at the beginning of the video and look at that, kind of build your confidence a little bit. And then we'll go in the starter and, Pap will give us the rundown of what his stuff does, how hard he throws, what it's going to be. And then he'll click on the video and we get to sit there and watch the video of all his stuff. And then we usually look at some pickoff moves, kind of get an idea for that. And then after that, he basically is just like, go send it. And we end the meeting right there and you go out and you lock in the locker room. And then in 45 minutes, you're on the field playing a game.
With Coach Pupillo, how do you feel like he's helped your game the most?
Yeah, obviously being an outfielder, it's been huge. His biggest philosophy is just hustle. He always says he's never going to get mad at you for giving 100%, even if you make an error. So that's kind of a big thing that's always stuck with me since I got here. Even in practice, it's like full go, like, don't take days off. Like I said in the last one, like just keep stacking days. Like he's big on that. So that obviously helps. And then his scout reports, I mean, it depends on different guys want to take what they want to take from it. Some guys just want to know the shape of the pitches and the velo. Some guys want to know, what he throws in certain counts, stuff like that. But he does a really good job of covering all that. So if you're a guy that wants the least amount of information as possible, you can take what you need from that and kind of, go about your business. Or if you're a guy that wants to know every little detail, he's got it all in the scout report. So he does an unreal job. So I think that's helps me for sure offensively, especially in this league. And us as an offense definitely helps us and makes it easier on us in the box.
Those are really cool things to learn about how you guys go about your business, getting ready for some of your key at-bats and then playing it defensively as well. Just looking at that part of the game for a little bit. Do you have the PitchCom device with you in center field? Or how does that work?
I do not have the PitchCom device, so the outfielders out there are on their own. It's just kind of a, if they pick off the second, you just got to see them crash and just kind of one of those deals, just back up a bag. But I know we've had some trouble with the PitchCom, but it happens. But I think that is definitely huge for sure because you can't. It makes it harder to pick pitches for sure. There's no more signs to the legs, stuff like that. You can get in a guy's glove every once in a while, but the PitchCom makes it way easier. I think it definitely speeds up the pace of play. And if you got a pitcher that's wanting to go fast, and he can go as fast as JJ's typing it in, which is good. Or if they want to slow it down, slow the tempo down, JJ can take his time and type it in. So I think that definitely is a huge piece and definitely goes a long way for sure.
And in our last episode as well, you talked about Peyton Steele, his throw home for that double play against Oregon State. You're yelling 4-4-4. How much do you communicate as a center fielder when a ball is put in play either in left field or right field?
Yeah, I communicate a good bit. Obviously, a ball gets hit down the line, the guy's not looking where the runner's going. So just trying to, communicate with him. That way he can focus on grabbing the ball. And then as soon as he grabs it, he doesn't have to look up and worry about where the runner is. He knows where he's throwing, so stuff like that. And then obviously fly balls are the easiest one to communicate on. But just the ones in the gap or down the line or something like that is the ones that I kind of try and communicate the best, or, if it's tough win like it was at Kentucky this weekend, just trying to let them know like they got room, they back in, whatever it is. So I try and do a good job the best I can. Sometimes I forget, but for the most part, I remember to do that.
You glad to get back to some natural grass coming up?
100%. I do love some turf, but definitely glad to get back on some grass and dirt.
Does it just kind of disrupt some timing at times, especially base running? It's a lot different.
It's just a little bit different, and it takes weird hops too as well, just based on how the ball's hit off the bat. There's a couple that you might get a top spun ball up the middle and it bounces higher. Some are back spun and then it bounces lower. It's weird playing on turf because you just got different bounces and you got to learn it. But we got a day of practice to learn it. So we're all grass and dirt here. Which good thing is though, we play all our away series on turf, so we'll get used to it for sure. But it definitely makes it's different for sure. Not playing on turf. And then, you go on the road and you're playing on turf and the wind's blowing 25 miles an hour and stuff like that. But, it was a good turf field. You just got to know your bounces and learn stuff like that. So
definitely. Well, to close things out, we've talked before about Coach Vaughn and kind of the leadership he has, and especially you as a senior and all you fellow seniors of the leadership for this team. How much is that tested when you have a tough weekend like Alabama had at Kentucky?
I think it's tested to the max. It's easy to say, we're getting on the plane yesterday and guys in the back of their head are like, are we good enough, blah, blah, blah. On paper, it looked like we got our butts kicked all weekend. But, if you were watching the game, it's one hit away. We set it up Friday night and we're one big hit away Saturday, tying runs on second, strike out. Coach Vaughn's the biggest – he says this all the time. He says you're willing to stand in the box that you strike out in, that you also want to win the game in. And, obviously Saturday that sucks. You're the leadoff guy. It's the spot you want. The crowd's getting into it, SEC atmosphere, adrenaline's going, stuff like that, and it doesn't go your way. And then the following day, I come back up and get the same opportunity, but with the bases loaded, and then you execute. And it's just like, that's just baseball. Like, that's the biggest thing. That's the fun thing about it is one day you're not going to come in clutch, and the next day you never know. It comes back up and you come in clutch, and it's a good feeling. So kind of, having a mindset of like, yeah, we got swept, but we were also 3 big hits away from getting it, from winning the series or even sweeping, I think you kind of just got to take it with a grain of salt. Obviously left a bunch of guys on, but a couple positives I look at is we kept setting it up. Always had runners on. It just comes down to somebody's got to get the big hit, whether it's me, Brian, Brady, Brennan Holt in the 9-hole, like it doesn't. Somebody's got to get the big hit, and we just didn't do that this weekend. But at some point, it's going to start happening, and the ball is going to start rolling.
It certainly will. Bryce Fowler, all the best to you as we continue through this 2026 baseball season. Thank you for your time. Roll Tide.
Thank you. Roll Tide.
Tide fans, make sure you stay connected to Alabama baseball and softball by watching our booth cams coming up, presented by Regions Bank. Streaming live during SEC home games coming up this spring, you'll be connected to the radio broadcast in an entirely new way, seeing all the great reactions from our broadcasters to all the home runs hit by the Crimson Tide, great strikeouts on the mound and in the circle as well. It's just the best way to keep up with Alabama baseball and softball this season. Go ahead and hit subscribe to all of our social media platforms, especially on YouTube, so you can stay connected to Alabama softball and baseball with our booth cams all coming up this spring, presented by Regions Bank.
This is the hurdle to climb if you're Alabama. 1-2. Lined into the right center field gap, and that's going to get all the way to the wall. 1 run will score. 2 runs will score. Kinley Pate rounds third. She will score as well. And that's a 3 RBI bases clearing double by Alexis Pupillo. And the Crimson Tide leads it 3-1.
Appreciate Bryce Fowler, who's doing a great job for the Crimson Tide baseball team. They'll be in action this week in Norman, Oklahoma. The softball team at home against Texas as we take a look at our upcoming schedule. Yeah, busy tonight. The softball team getting it going first at 6 p.m. against Texas. Baseball against Oklahoma at 6:30. Our pregame start time will be just 15 minutes prior to the scheduled first pitch for all of our baseball and softball games coming up this weekend. More night games on Friday, and then baseball will wrap up relatively early, 2 o'clock start time at Oklahoma coming up on Saturday, and then the softball team a 5 p.m. showdown for its final game of that series against the Texas Longhorns. We'll enjoy the Easter holiday coming up on Sunday, and then coming up on Monday, we'll be back with Hey Coach presented by Alpha Insurance at Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa, talking football. There may be some other sports included, but it's mostly going to be a football show with the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Kalen DeBoer, joining us at Hey Coach presented by Alpha Insurance. Just so you don't miss anything coming up this weekend, including those softball games, we are going to have our booth cam up and running for Alabama softball here on the CTSN YouTube page, so make sure you watch that streaming live during each and every game this weekend. Make sure you don't miss that, plus any highlights from baseball as well on all of our social media platforms at UA_CTSN. Make sure you hit subscribe as well on YouTube. Turn those notifications on, especially for those softball booth cams. They will pop right up on your feed, on your subscription feed on YouTube coming up this weekend here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. That's going to wrap up this Thursday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Huge thank you to our guests, Bryce Fowler and Alexis Pupillo, as well as Tom Canterbury, Gray Robertson, for their great work previewing the Texas series. Make sure you watch them on the booth cam this weekend. Thanks as well to the man producing the booth cam, Ethan Carabin. He produces this entire show, including all of our interviews at the LLH Healthcare Advantage Center. We appreciate Ethan and his hard work each and every week for Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover. I got to get ready for baseball here in Norman, Oklahoma. The Tide and the Sooners coming up tonight. Softball against Texas. What a weekend it's going to be. Make sure you enjoy it. Enjoy some time with your family and friends and loved ones for the Easter holiday. Until next time, thanks for watching, and roll Tide.
2-2 the count. The pitch. Swing, and this is drilled high to straightaway center. Pate racing back. He's to the warning track. He's right up against the wall. He'll reach for it, but it's gone! Brady Neal with a solo homer to center, and in the top of the ninth at Jacksonville State, it's now Alabama 4 and the Gamecocks 3.